stand a chance.
What's up, gamers? My name is Hard, and I'm coming at you with another Path of Exile 2 build guide. This time, we're playing a Molten Blast Blood Mage, and this has been the smoothest one-button build I've ever had playing through the campaign of Path of Exile, and I'm pretty excited to show you how this whole thing works, so I'm going to start jumping into the clips here. So leveling a melee witch is probably the hardest part of getting the build going. In Act 1, I decided right away just to scrap using wands or any chaos thing. I just equipped the mace and I started, infernal crying, mace striking, and bone shattering my way to victory. As you can see in the clip, this is probably the worst zone in all of Act 1 and Act 2 combined, right before we can get our ascend and start activating our actual build. And so I just wanted to show this, until you reach your first ascendancy, you can kind of use whatever. I use just mace strike and bone shatter and all that stuff up until I got my ascend. But you can do whatever works for you. If you like minions, do that. If you like spells, you can do that. But whatever works, just to get your first ascend point so you can start using Molten Blast. So because I play hardcore, I wussied out a bit and I actually took the survivability nodes first. So this is actually technically my first ascend, which I did at around level 38. And as soon as I got the ascend point, which is the one that turns all of your elemental damage into bleeding magnitude, you can start using Molten Blast right away for clear. And as you can see, it immediately starts one-tapping mobs. This is the Viper boss fight with a really, unoptimized Molten Blast setup. I'm using a curse because one of the ascend points that we have, makes it so every bleeding on target is aggravated when we curse. So the idea is you just curse the boss and then Molten Blasted to death. And this is a pretty scuffed setup. Honestly, I was very much still experimenting with the build at this stage, but I wanted to include this clip anyway because I think the build has amazing defense, which is one of my favorite aspects of Path of Exile 2 builds. And so if you're looking for a build that just doesn't immediately get one tapped when he faces a mob or anything, this build can literally take anything. And I really enjoyed the tankiness aspect. And the damage is there. Especially once you get Hammer of the Gods. Really, a lot of the campaign experience on the boss side of things is kind of a little bit of a struggle up until you start getting Hammer of the Gods. And as soon as you start getting that, you immediately begin to one-tap bosses. This is a pretty good example of what that actually feels like once you start getting Hammer of the Gods online. And you can actually do way more cheese than this because you can load your Hammer of the Gods by just getting glory from outside the arena from killing mobs. And as soon as this boss spawns, you can already have your Hammer of the Gods charged. And if you have that up and ready, as soon as this guy spawns, you drop a Hammer of the Gods. He's dead before he's doing more than 2 abilities. But even when you don't preload your hammer, you can see it's still really incredible damage. And once you do get to drop that hammer, it feels so amazing, and bosses just obliterate on your screen. Please subscribe. I'll be posting Path of Exile 2 content all week for forever because I'm a huge Path of Exile fan and it's been a lot of fun to share this stuff with you guys. So please, I really appreciate all the engagements I get. Thank you. And this is just another example of how satisfying this build is to pull off on boss fights. This is really some of the most fun I've had bossing in Path of Exile 2. It's so satisfying to be so tanky and then also have just a one-shot button for these bosses. It's a really cool feeling, and I really enjoyed these encounters. It feels so good. I mean, look at that. Oof. That's so satisfying, man. And this character did ultimately end up dying on hardcore, which I am still incredibly sad about because this character should not have died. I just got one shot by this dumb boss. I think in hindsight, I might have leveled up to where my resistances moved and I didn't realize. So I was like 5% under lightning cap, which is what I think explains getting one shot here, because there is no other reason why a character as tanky as I was with Cloak of Flames on getting one shot here. So I wanted to include this because that was made me sad. It was pretty bullshit. But yeah, I mean, this kid's character is pretty much immortal, and you'll be able to see that when we start hopping into a map. So I'm just going to hop in a T1 map and show you guys what this build is all about. And we, of course, get an Abyss right away. I mean, as you can see, we are one button operation, Molten Blasting our way to victory. Literally not clicking any of the buttons. I am just holding down right click, and you see how fucking tanky this character is too. It's so nice to play. I mean, we're just chilling inside an Abyss. Now I know it's the T1 map and everything, but our character is level 65. So bear that in mind too when you're watching this. So yeah, I mean, this is just an incredibly satisfying style of game to play. And yeah, this clear is just so nice. And again, all I am doing is holding down the right mouse button. We are molten blasting our way to victory, and there is nothing else to it. I have all of our curses automated on Blasphemy, so we don't even need to curse mobs to get the aggravation up and running. It is just smooth sailing. I probably could have, if you ever run into an annoying rare mob or a rare mob that isn't dying in, one or two molten blasts, you can just drop the hammer of the gods and move on, because anytime a mob gets touched by a hammer, it is going to die. So that's what the clear looks like. It is so satisfying. And you guys check it out. Other than that, I want to just quickly go over the passive tree. A lot of this is pretty unoptimized because I wanted to push a little bit further before actually making this video, but I ended up dying, and I'm not too interested in running this guy on soft core, but I am thinking about just re-rolling. So I probably will end up making another hardcore character, same kind of setup, and pushing deeper into maps, just because this guy was so much fun to play, and I really enjoyed it. But this is what I was rocking on the tree. Again, I just kind of immediately dove into the left side of the tree from the beginning. So your first couple levels are rough. I just equipped the mace and started hitting things in the head. You could choose whatever, but it is going to be a little rough through this part of the tree, just because you're literally just getting attribute nodes. There's no damage, but once you get into here, you can start allocating some damage nodes, and it gets fine by the end. One of the things importantly to note on the tree is that this build is not nearly close to being fully there. This bleed 3 notable, while obviously like getting 100% chance to bleed is really good, ultimately we want to be getting 100% chance to bleed from the tree, and that's going to be incredibly easy to do. You get an insane amount of bleed chance on all of these nodes. Like this right here is like 45% bleed chance. You get like another like 15 here, so I mean you're already at like 60% bleed chance, and you can fill out the rest on these other aspects of the tree, which we are doing, just because it's so important for both Hammer of the Gods and Molten Blast to have these abilities freed up. And when we do eventually get to free up Hammer of the Gods, we're going to put Ignite 3 on that bad boy, and he's going to be doing an insane amount of ailment damage from the bleed and ignite scaling. So it's going to be very satisfying to eventually press that, but we're not there yet. Ultimately we need to get we still need bleed chance, and so we have this set up until we get 100% bleed chance. But once we do get that, we'll just be getting more damage, and I'll probably just be putting more damage on Molten Blast, whether it's like Fiery Attunement or something of that nature, once we already proc our 100% chance to bleed for the passive tree. The other interesting, there's really not anything interesting to know on the gem side. I barely use Mace Strike. I don't even really have it loaded. I really do just hold down Molten Blast. And occasionally bone shatter mobs. That means it was also kind of tricky to ultimately get glorious into to get Hammer of the Gods charges. So just so I can maintain glory in boss fights, I think I like this node. I'm still kind of playing around with this, but just the idea of always having Hammer of the Gods uptime during bosses is really nice. Although you do get You do get a lot of that with Bloodhound Mark II. So it's a pretty nice setup. And so here on the spirit side, Herald of Blood, this is something that got recently added as of last patch, and it's just a really nice addition to the clear. You get really huge bleed pops whenever you kill an enemy, super satisfying. And what's better than bleed pops? Well, how about bleed and ignite procs, or bleed and ignite explosives, explodies, when you kill mobs. So every time you're killing a mob, you get really satisfying explosions, which we love explosions because we're PoE gamers. And then I have the blasphemy set up, running vulnerability for just so we can proc the aggravated bleed on this side. Bleeding you inflict on cursed artists aggravated. And who likes curses in Path of Exile 2? I mean, I think cursing mobs is actually it's pretty annoying. And so I try to use blasphemy whatever I can, just because I don't really enjoy cursing mobs as is currently in PoE2. It just feels kind of clunky. So I really like the blasphemy setup, but you could definitely optimize around other things. There's a lot of flexible spots here in the spirit section, but I really do enjoy the exploding aspects of the heralds. And Bloodhound Mark is another thing that I didn't really get a chance to use much. This is something I only got running at like the very end before I died. I was going to start using it more as I got into maps, but you didn't really need it. I mean, this is just helps you get the heavy stun enemies so you can proc more Hammer of the Gods, bosses and through your clear, as well as just giving you more damage when you do bleed things. It's a nice thing to have, but I barely ever used it. It's probably something you can use more once you start, having more annoying rare mobs and stuff. But Molten Blast essentially was enough for me throughout this point in the game. So that's a Billow gear real quick. Again, the gear is very basic. I'm still very much an armor Andy. I've been really enjoying the armor life so far, and have just been continuing to stack armor through the campaign and early maps. Feels really good. Getting our hands on a Cloak of Flame is an interesting buy. This thing pretty much makes us immortal. You saw us like walking to the map and just stand inside an abyss and we barely took damage. I mean, this thing, 40% of physical damage taken this fire is just such a huge flat PDR buff for your character. It really does, make a material difference in your survivability. And this is just a perfect character to take advantage of. A cloak, but it looks fucking great on a witch too. So I mean, come on. So I highly recommend the cloak for survivability. It's a really nice, unique, and you really do feel the survivability boost you get from it. So this is a huge item, and it's kind of like a little cute tech here with when you take fire damage from a hit, you get max rage, and because every time we take fizz damage, it's taken as fire damage. So there's a cute little tech here where every time we take damage from a fizz hit, we get maximum rage, which is a nice little damage buff. It's nothing big, but it's kind of a cute tech. And just generic charms and nothing special on gear. Just trying to max our res where we can and get armor. The weapon, just a generic fizz weapon. I bought this for like 10x on trade. Really, it wasn't anything special. It's a pretty average weapon. And yeah, that's it for the gear. If you made it this far into the video, thank you. I really appreciate you guys sticking around and hearing what I have to say. I will be dropping more Path of Exile 2 content all week for forever. So please keep an eye on the channel, subscribe, leave a like, drop a comment. I really enjoyed doing this, and I hope you guys get something from it. Peace.